We all have surprise events that happen in our life, and sometimes they can absolutely blindside us. And we kind of forget that 1 and 1 equals 2 and 2 and 2 equals 4. Very often these are bad events, but they may not necessarily be bad. We just caught off balance. They can be examples of a term I'm going to use. I'm going to call it empty tomb syndrome, and you'll soon see why. But when we're blindsided, do we panic or and just focus on the problem, or can it become an aha moment when we realize that something is happening that we should have expected? So how do you react to these times when you might be blindsided? You never suspected that this would happen, but it happened so quickly. And I think the point in all of this is that we need to see past the event, the problem, or being blindsided. Now, the title of this sermonette is Empty Tomb Syndrome, and it got its name because of Mary Magdalene. And in this sermonette, we're only going to be in John chapter 20. So if you want, you can turn there and we'll read through it during the sermonette. But let's take a look at how Mary Magdalene faced just such a trial after Jesus' crucifixion. So reading now from John 20, verse 1. Now on the first day of the week, Mary Magdalene went to the tomb early, while it was still dark, and saw that the stone had been taken away from the tomb. Then she ran and came to Simon Peter and to the other disciples, whom Jesus loved, and said to them, "They have taken away the Lord out of the tomb. We do not know where they have laid him." So clearly, she saw the tomb that was empty, and she totally panicked. Hence, empty tomb syndrome. But why did she panic? Well, let's take a look at the backstory. Jesus had removed 7 demons from Mary Magdalene. She then became a follower of Jesus. She traveled with Jesus and watched him heal the sick, as well as others who were demon-possessed. She must have been aware of his prophecy about his death and resurrection, and certainly the disciples, which she would all know, they would have been talking about it because they were questioning it also. So she knew that when she went into the tomb. Yet, when she went into the tomb, that Sunday morning, she was totally shocked that Jesus was gone. She panicked. She forgot all that she knew. And then she went and told the apostles, and then she later ran back to the tomb. Now, the disciples, as well as Mary, were aware that Jesus had said, "For as Jonah was 3 days and 3 nights in the belly of the great fish, so will the Son of Man be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth." 3 days and 3 nights were up. She knew that. But John also adds in verse 9 of chapter 20, "For as yet they did not know the scriptures that he must rise again from the dead." Okay, so now they didn't add 2 and 2 together to get 4. They kept it all separate. And so they were vulnerable for being blindsided. Well, the issue Mary faced is one that we may also face. She heard Jesus, she believed in Jesus, and so do we. But that sudden, unexpected event caused her to forget what she heard from Jesus. Therein lies the danger when we are caught off guard. We can't afford to lose our focus on God's plan because of this unexpected event that has happened to us. So when we face our next surprise event, which we will, when we're blindsided, there are 2 things that can happen. We can either panic and be shaken like Mary, or we can have an aha moment where we add 2 and 2 together, it comes out 4, and we realize what's happening. If we panic, then it's our empty tomb syndrome, and God will have to teach us about it. If it's an aha moment, then we will put 2 and 2 together, and we will realize something that we should have realized has now come to pass. But if it is an empty tomb moment, then God may be pointing out what we lack, or he may be strengthening us in an area. But the important point is, he will help us as he helped Mary Magdalene to see past the empty tomb. Notice how Jesus did handle Mary Magdalene, which is a way that he may deal with us also when we get into a situation where we do panic. Continuing on in John 20, verses 11, but Mary stood outside of the tomb weeping. And as she wept, she stooped down and looked into the tomb. And she saw 2 angels in white sitting, one at the head and the other at the feet, where the body of Jesus had lain. Then they said to her, "Woman, why are you weeping?" She said to them, "Because they have taken away my Lord, and I do not know where they have laid him." Okay, so she's still in panic mode. She's still blindsided. She hasn't added 2 and 2 together. But God, through his angels at this time, is now intervening. God has his own way of intervening in our own lives. Continuing on in verse 14, we'll see how it plays out. Now, when she had said this, she turned around and saw Jesus standing there and did not know that it was Jesus. Jesus said to her, "Woman, why are you weeping? Whom are you seeking?" She, supposing him to be the gardener, said to him, "Sir, if you have carried him away, tell me where you have laid him, and I will take him away." Jesus said to her, "Mary." She turned and said to him, "Rabboni," which is to say, teacher. There's a couple of important points here. She didn't recognize Jesus was there. When we're blindsided, do we recognize that Jesus is also there to help us? Because Jesus was standing there. He is also going to be standing with us. We may also not recognize that he's there, nor that his power is there, because again, we're blindsided and panicked. But God then opened her eyes to the spiritual truth. She then recognized Jesus, and the issue about being an empty tomb was resolved. She now had her aha moment. She understood those scriptures. She understood the overall plan. She was ready to go on. She had learned her lesson. Same thing will happen to us if we are blindsided. God will open our eyes and deliver us through whatever event blindsided us. So, in conclusion, Mary panicked and she did not see past the problem. We, in our lives, need to see past the problem. She saw only the empty tomb. The takeaway for us is we need to pray for help and insight, especially when we're blindsided like that we don't panic and we don't have an empty tomb syndrome. Because God is there to help us. We need our spiritual eyes opened. We need this to be an aha moment, not an empty tomb moment. Jesus will do that in the right time and place. And remember, Jesus was close to Mary, and he will also be close to us.